AFC South projected winner, according to PointsBet. Colts the favorites at -115. So much for the Titans, who were the 1 seed last year. They are +145. Jaguars 7-1, and there are the Texans 30-1. My God, I would not have expected that big of a spread between the Jaguars and the Texans, Chris.
It's a little surprising to see it there, but the Jags spent a ton of money this year. They got a quarterback, that we got people excited. So I could see that. The Texans, I still look at them as a team going, man, there's a lot of solid and depth there. But is there game-changing players there to really think that they can make something happen on either side of the ball? I think that's the one thing I would question about them either way. I'm a little surprised. Why, though, are the Colts the favorites? Is it just because Matt Ryan's there and Ryan Tannehill had a bad last game? I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised to see the spread there as well.
Well, and there's this lingering sense that the Colts are a really good team, and it was all Carson Wentz's fault. So now they've got Matt Ryan. And, the Titans, the last memory of them, the 3 interceptions from Ryan Tannehill, right? So the vibe around the Titans, the loss to the Bengals, it's not good. And this is driven by betting. The odds reflect what the betting patterns are, and people tend to have more faith right now in the Colts and the Titans. All right, it's the AFC South best non-quarterbacks in the division draft. Chris, you're up.
All right, I'm going to lead it off with a big ugly. I'm going to go with the guy that's the best offensive lineman in football and already going into the Hall of Fame, and that's Quenton Nelson. That's where I'm going to start it. I mean, Quenton Nelson is the best guard in football. If you need him to play tackle, you can do that. But he's phenomenal. And, yes, he is already going into Hall of Fame type territory. So I'll pick him to start it off. His attitude, what the Colts do, it's set by him and his ability to move people and open up holes for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, look, and he's a guy who was superstar from the day that he first arrived, sets the tone for the offensive line, the big wall that Jim Irsay and company built. But I think this is why he was so frustrated last year. They have all the pieces. Yeah. They just have had this revolving door at quarterback. Interviewed Chris Ballard, the GM of the team, several weeks ago. You could just feel the frustration, the exasperation at their inability to have a quarterback for more than a year. And they hope to have Matt Ryan for a couple. They eventually hope to get the guy that's going to be the long-term answer. But they've been pivoting from veteran to veteran while they wait. And that's the other side of this, too. I'm going to get back to the draft, but this, they're good enough that they have reason to try to find a veteran. This isn't the time to try to develop a young quarterback. They're too good to not try to plug in somebody who can take them to where they want to go. All right, Derrick Henry has taken the Titans to where they've been trying to go, and even though he missed 8 games last year in the regular season, after I think 9 games total after he suffered that foot injury, he's still one of the best players in the entire NFL, the best running back. He was on pace to have a ridiculous year before that foot injury happened, out of the blue, a day after they had beaten the Colts in kind of a hard-fought game. But Derrick Henry, I think he would have been my first pick anyway. All due respect to Quenton Nelson.
Yeah, all good.
Derrick Henry, a special running back, and we'll see how many more years he can keep it going. A lot of wear and tear, big body, but a phenomenal player. This generation's Jim Brown.
No doubt. I hear you. You know, Mike. Sometimes with these drafts, I try to give some of the other star players that maybe not everybody gets the credit for at times, and give them that there too. I knew one of us was going to pick Derrick Henry here in the next round or two. But yeah, freak. Again, we just talked about Quenton Nelson. I think in this era of running backs, not many are going to go to the Hall of Fame. Derrick Henry's going to the Hall of Fame. Derrick Henry's an all-time great running back. That's already set in stone. There's no way you can argue it, period. So I'm going to be interested to see how good he is this year. I'm going to go with the guy that's challenging him to maybe take that mantle, to be the best running back in football, and Jonathan Taylor from the Colts. I know I brought him up, but damn, Taylor, 6'1", or 6 foot, 230 pounds, can run with power, break tackles, but as we know, and like we've seen with Derrick Henry, his guy's got 3 rockets up his butt, like legit, and he can go 70 yards to the house from anywhere on the field. I mean, he's special. He is that way. So, definitely in the conversation for the best running back in the sport, home run hitter, and like a 4 or 5 yard tough nose runner too. I love Jonathan Taylor's game.
I'll flip it over to the other side of the ball, and I'll go back to the Titans. You go Colts, I go Titans. This is like the AFC East the other day when you did all Dolphins and I did all Bills. I'll go Jeffrey Simmons, who was unstoppable.
Yes.
I thought you were taking him last round.
I know.
He
I
was
didn't think you would. Yeah.
in that game against the Bengals,
yeah.
and he's due to get the money that he deserves. And disruptive, the next wave, the next guy who's that kind of Aaron Donald presence who can just F up the play and get to the quarterback, not just create chaos and allow everyone else to go get to the ball. He can create the chaos and go finish the job.
No doubt. I mean, great pick by you. I wanted to take him last round. I didn't think you would do it. So I was kind of sandbagging you there. But I think that Jeffrey Simmons has entered that conversation, to your point, of top defensive tackles in football. Maybe not going to say he's Aaron Donald, but he's in that conversation with him, Chris Jones. It's a special group, like you said. They can put up stats or they can F the play up and not get any stats, but they're the reason the play was ruined. So good one there by you. All right, damn. I mean, I guess we're going to go Titans-Colts in this draft because I like Brandon Scherf down in Jacksonville. I don't know if anybody warrants me picking them in this draft quite yet in Jacksonville. And the same thing like with Houston Texans. There's Laramie Tunsil on the board, but I don't know if I can say they're better than some of these other guys I still got on the board from the Titans or the Colts. I'm going to go with DeForest Buckner. I mean, if Jeffrey Simmons isn't the best defensive lineman in the division, it's DeForest Buckner who is. I mean, again, it's a giant human being who can play defensive end and defensive tackle and do a lot of the things you just talked about with Jeffrey Simmons, except he's a little more vertically taller there, and Simmons maybe a thicker, more of a powerhouse type of guy. But damn, DeForest Buckner is a game wrecker and definitely one of the best defensive linemen in football.
Look, maybe Laramie Tunsil from the Texans. There's really
right?
Nobody from the Texans.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why they are such long shots to win the division. I'll go James Robinson just because it's kind of like the early Frank Gore phenomenon. By the way, Frank Gore is going to sign a one-day contract to retire with the 49ers today. The argument he makes early in his career, he was all that the 49ers had. He had to gain yards without a passing game, without blocking. He still had to find a way to get it done. James Robinson broke onto the scene with a 1,000 yards season in 2020 when the Jaguars were horrible. They won in week 1 and they lost 15 in a row. And last year, I feel like Urban Meyer was doing everything he could to not use James Robinson, to undermine James Robinson.
It seemed
like
it.
One of the many controversies, Urban Meyer telling an implausible story about why Robinson was taken out of a game and not put back in. They drafted Travis Etienne.
They ran somebody on 4th and 1, right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I just, to the extent that there's any name that jumps off the depth chart that definitely deserves credit and has suffered through 2 years of crap in Jacksonville, it's James Robinson.
Yeah, he's a hell of a football player. He is. He's going unnoticed a little bit there in Jacksonville. But man, you pair him with Travis Etienne this year and what he could possibly be, that could be a scary backfield. But damn, I mean, we didn't pick Darius Leonard. He's up there with one of the best linebackers in football. We left him off the board. The guy who led the division in sacks, Harold Landry, we also left him off the board. You start to realize when you break down, the one thing I've learned from these exercises, you do start to realize that, whoa, there's considerably more talent on the Colts and the Tennessee Titans compared to the other two teams in the division. Jacksonville has a chance, but it's all potential. We just got to see. We're not sure. It's young and unproven to this point.
And they're doing what they can to improve the team, but you're right. The Titans and the Colts are the two teams that are established, and by all appearances, they will run that division again.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.